August 26, 1791. John Fitch is granted the patent for the steamboat after taking a dump on a regular boat. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And we're super excited to have our guest that we have today. Should have thought that one through a little more. What more can be said about this man? He's hilarious. Please welcome Nathan Lund to the show, everyone.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Real quick, off the top, just want to say that this is episode number 50, which is a semi-milestone.
Sure.
And thank you to everyone who has listened for some reason. Mm-hmm.
It's the Diamond episode? 10? What's 50? I don't know what corresponds.
50 is usually gold, I think.
Ah, okay.
You say that like you expect me to get you something.
I'll email you a JPEG of some gold or something. Hey, you know what? I'll send you a link to that DuckTales movie show that just came out. There's lots of gold in that. I think it's appropriate.
Perfect. We also did, last I checked, just pass 7,000 subscribers, which is also insane.
Whoa.
Thank you to everyone for putting this on while you do other things.
To be fair, roughly 2/3 of them are Russian bots.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
We have a very large contingent among Donald Trump's Twitter followers, actually.
It's true, yeah. We might not have told you this, Nathan, but we are, in fact, a propaganda tool for the Trump administration.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm going to revise that subscribers number. I'm going to say you guys have 50,000 subscribers.
Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Chechnya. Now,
beautiful.
Beautiful place. Extremely conquerable. Anyway.
Let's get in there.
Human rights abuses. Anyway, if you're new to the show, what we do each episode is we take a topic from history. One person presents the official version of events, and another person comes up with a crazy batshit alternate history. And the winner becomes the truth. Last time, we talked about Emperor Maximilian I of Mexico,
Ooh.
And the audience vote upheld the judgment of that episode that Zach's alternate history, which was that it was all the basis of a telenovela.
Mexico's most popular telenovela.
Yes, indeed.
El Hermanos Imperio, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that what it was called?
The Empire Brothers.
I just remember Fake Real Dad or Papa Real Falso, I think.
Yeah.
It was hella dumb and very fun. But this time, we are getting into World War I, finally, which is not something a lot of people who had to fight World War I said. But Zach, you'll be telling the true story of the assassination of Franz Ferdinand.
That's correct, yep.
And Nathan, you are doing the alternate, correct?
That's right.
Cool. So, if we're all ready, Zach, why don't you take it away?
Well, I am glad I got the true history on this one because I happen to think this is one of the more fun episodes in history. It's like it's got a Keystone Cop vibe.
The smile. This is one of the few times I can see your camera. And just the smile on your face and the way you're just like kind of twisting in your chair. It made it look like you wanted to ask the story to prom.
Brian instinctually turns off his camera every time we do this, so I have no...
Well, as soon as it's like Zach's face, boom, shirts off, everyone. Shirts off.
I just assumed, yeah, not only were you shirtless, but also every time I was talking, you and the guest both constantly did the jack-off motion.
Every time. My wrists have been ruined over the course of 50 episodes.
Yeah, you got carpal tunnel, but not from masturbating, just from mocking me.
No, I don't masturbate. I'm not a very erotic person.
That seed is for the one God deems right for you only.
Exactly. I won't commit the sin of Onan. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what the fuck were we talking about?
How fun this assassination thing is.
Right.
Is a fun one.
Yeah, it's like a Keystone Cop episode, except at the end what happens is World War I, and then also it causes World War II.
Yeah, and then
It's like the worst payoff to the Three Stooges. Yeah.
if every episode of the Three Stooges ended with the Battle of the Somme or something.
Yeah, it's like, so if you were to the idea is basically if you put on like a classic episode of Three Stooges, like one where they became cops or something, and then immediately followed it up with Schindler's List, that's kind of what the Assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is.
Perfect.
All right, so a little background before we get into the actual event itself, which is the kind of kooky, crazy part. But at the time that the assassination occurred, Austria-Hungary, after a treaty, the Treaty of Berlin, after the Turkey-Russo War, was occupying Bosnia and Sarajevo. Even though technically the Ottoman Empire still owned that land, they were allowing Austria-Hungary to occupy it there. Much to the chagrin of Serbia, who previously, when their empire was at its largest, had owned that area, and a few others. So, after this treaty gets laid down, right, there's a king and a queen, King Alexander and Queen Dragon? Like, it's really Dragan? It's like a fucking Game of Thrones fucking, like, you know how in Game of Thrones they have the word, but it's misspelled by one letter? It's one of those things.
Okay, because it sounded like you literally just said dragon phonetically.
Yeah, I'm going to mispronounce some of these names, but they all end with Vic, so we'll see. All right, so these guys were pretty friendly with Russia. They were abiding by the treaty. And some people, known as the Black Hand, were not totally cool with that. So in 1903, the Black Hand, led by, this guy Tarkovic and this guy Dmitrijevic. Like I said, lots of Vics. Dmitrijevic, fortunately, goes by the name Apis or Apis, so that's a lot easier to remember. They raid this palace. They find the king and queen. They shoot the king 30 times. They shoot the queen 18 times. And then they dump him out the palace window for good measure. Okay. So they install a new king, a guy who is more hostile to Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary, I guess, had married and they were very progressive, so they decided to hyphenate. I was very good early.
They were both from strong families.
Of course. So you could see them walking around Whole Foods together.
There was no capitulating. They also had one Facebook account, which that's always annoying when two countries share a Facebook account.
When you really are only friends with one.
Yeah.
It's like,
and when
I went to high school with Hungary, and then Austria came along. It's like, I don't have to be friends with Austria.
Yeah.
And when they acquired Bosnia, they immediately created a Facebook account for it too, which I think is kind of gross. I think you should wait for Bosnia to be old enough to create its own Facebook account.
Sure.
But that's just me.
A lot of Bosnians also had that same problem.
Anyways, so the next few years, there was a fair number of Serbians getting more and more upset at the fact that Bosnia was occupied by Austria-Hungary. They were also trying to expand their empire to its former glory. That included the Balkan Wars and things of that nature. There was one notable suicide attempt before Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Or not suicide, assassination.
Okay, I was going to say.
So technically it was an attempted assassination and a successful suicide. But
wait.
there's guy Zarajic. He attempted to assassinate the then governor of Bosnia. He shot at him a bunch of times and then shot himself in the head. And a young man named Gavrilo Prisepi was very inspired by this event and said later that he would, quote, spend nights at Zarevic's grave.
Whoa.
That's metal, I guess.
Serbian nationalism was becoming like a cool new fad among the teens at this time. Yeah, exactly so. There was like a 10 o'clock news report that were like, is your child spending nights at the graves of attempted assassins? What it could mean.
He was the Morrissey of the time
exactly.
for a lot of young men and women.
It's like fucking rainbow parties. Fucking slap bracelets and shit. That was how he tried to kill the Archduke the first time. Just hit him with slap bracelets a bunch.
Those things hurt. I mean, and if they get out of that little wrapper, they can be sharp and cut your wrist. It's a real danger. Be careful with slap bracelets. So Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria-Hungary, he asks Archduke Franz Ferdinand to go there and do a few standard military operations, even though it's a little bit of a dicey area. And Franz Ferdinand accepts, in part because, and this is very bizarre to me, because he married this woman, Sophie, who was of a lower social rank than him, they were not allowed to be seen sitting next to one another in public, except during military operations.
This reminds me of the rules about when Julius Caesar was whatever pontifex, or it was he couldn't touch a horse. It's weird playground, the floor is hot lava rules.
They didn't want him to get horse fever. That was a scary thing. So if you didn't get vaccinated, then you're in trouble at getting horse fever.
They didn't want him to accidentally get a boner when touching a horse, because that would be really embarrassing.
We have a lot of content in this show about horses and how sexy this is not the first time we've had conversations about how attractive horses are.
This.
I guarantee it's not. Anyways.
Did you guys talk about Catherine the Great at all? Was it that episode?
Yeah, well, maybe that was it. Okay.
Sexy horses.
That would make sense. That would be a logical jumping off point.
And of course, that song, "All the Sexy Horses," or what is that, a book? Fuck it, I'll edit that out.
So some people speculate part of the reason that Archduke Franz Ferdinand decided to go on this particular endeavor is because he was in love with his wife and he wanted to be able to be seen publicly with her. So
he was in love with his wife.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
So let that be a lesson that love always inspires horrific wars which kill millions.
Not worth it.
That's something Gabriel Princip would say when he was sitting in the fucking cemetery in the middle of the night, writing in his fucking moleskin.
So the Black Hand was still kind of semi-officially the government of Serbia at this point. The people who had overthrown the king and queen were in the Serbian military as pretty high-ranking folks. And they were orchestrating these underhand operations to kind of wrench Bosnia back from Austria-Hungary. And one of their operatives was this guy named Danilo Ilic, who was, again, I want to emphasize something. Except for the guys who initially carried out the killing of the king and queen some 15 years earlier, everybody I talk about is crazy young. Ilic is 20, 21 years old. Prisepi and the other assassins are all 17 to 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Very young people. And I want to say a few things. One, the Black Hand flag, if you've never looked it up, is so shitty. It's something a fifth grader drew that they thought was super cool, but it's garbage.
It's that S that people thought people thought was the Stussy S, but it wasn't the Stussy.
There was a kid at every school who supposedly invented that S.
Yeah.
But wait, no, it's literally a picture of a hand holding a flag with a badly drawn skull on it, and then crammed into the side are a bottle of poison with little skull and crossbones on it, a knife, and what looks like a Christmas ornament, but I think is supposed to be a Looney Tunes style bomb. They really needed a graphic designer for that one because it did not turn out well. I suggest everybody look it up. I also want to show you guys this picture. I'm actually sending it to Brian right now. Maybe we could put it on the feed because this is the people. I sent it to you on your phone. These are the people who are in the Black Hand. The two leaning on the guy in the front are the two who killed the king and queen.
This is like a Breakfast Club picture. That's what it reminds me of.
It very much is. Yeah, they met during detention.
They had the first 6 people ready for a picture, and then those 3 dudes came in and they're like, come in, and they're like, where should we go? Just lay in the front.
Anyway,
that's great.
So we just shot a king 30 times.
So I'm hoping I'm hoping that picture could go up on our feed. I like a lot of the pictures involved in this because the picture of Princepi before he was in prison is like, he's this James Dean looking motherfucker with like a 5-inch forehead and then 6 inches of hair above it, like rolled back on his head. And Franz Ferdinand, he looks like a ghoul with a classy mustache. He's a horrific looking gentleman.
The horror
Just
of a classy mustache.
Human mustache.
Yeah, his eyes are so dead and bulging, it looks like a fucking George Romero zombie. But anyways, the Illich begins to arrange with Apis and Tankasik, or whatever his name is, to the same people who killed the king and queen, to get Franz Ferdinand assassinated. And he conscripts Princepi and a couple of other kids and equips them with a few guns, a few bombs, as well as suicide pills in case things go south.
Yeah, that's not usually for like the Will Smith and Independence Day celebration cigar thing.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
It's a boy.
Bite down.
It's a boy cigars. Yeah, they didn't like they're going to be holding guns, but apparently those aren't as effective as a suicide pill.
Well, we'll get back to the suicide pills. The suicide pills are a nice little brick joke in this story, so we'll get back to those in a little bit. So they start to smuggle these guns and bombs across the borders to get into Bosnia so they can kill Franz Ferdinand while he's on this parade route. They meet a few other potential assassins. There's 6 in total. And they arrange themselves along the route. Now, this is when shit starts getting stupid. Immediately, when they're loading up the cars that Franz Ferdinand and his wife are going to be going in, like a bunch of the security people get in the wrong cars and the chief of security is accidentally left behind. So...
I just picture him holding like a giant stuffed animal he won on the Midway.
Yeah. Where's everybody?
Oh, guys.
Now you're making me think of Buster Bluth, just like, I got it in Army. But, so they arrange themselves along the parade route. Now, the first 2 or 3 of the assassins are armed with bombs, and as the cars pass, they don't do anything. They just freeze and let the cars go by.
That's great.
Finally, they get to the 4th assassin along the route, this guy, Kobrinovic, right? Kobrinovic actually throws his bomb, which bounces off like the mostly open hood of the convertible and under the car behind Franz Ferdinand, blowing up underneath that car. The cars speed off and everybody else in the track doesn't act. The cars, like Franz Ferdinand and his wife, escape.
Okay.
Kobrinovic, right? He starts running for it and he gets to a bridge. He takes his suicide pill and jumps off the bridge. So he jumps.
I can't do time.
Turns out the water underneath the bridge is only a foot deep. So that doesn't... He's fine. Like, he survives that. And the cyanide pill doesn't do anything except make him throw up. So a bunch of Bosnians pull him out of the river, beat him, and he is arrested. His suicide attempt a complete failure.
Even the mob is like, don't hit him too hard. We don't want to give him what he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I see him on
all
the
this
ground
guy
being
wanted was
attacked
to
by
not.
a mob and just shrugging like it's a living.
Yeah, which he does not want is a living.
So Princepi, still in possession of his gun, runs off to a nearby sort of diner. Actually, it's a deli. And and decides to lay low there for a little while.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking.
Franz Ferdinand goes to the town hall.
The gun didn't go off, Jerry. The gun didn't go off.
It was a fake cyanide pill, Jerry.
They couldn't spring for the good cyanide. And I have to imagine good cyanide is very cheap.
He's a bridge jumper.
But,
They went with the generic. They went with the generic, Jerry. I told you I don't trust generics.
Anyways, so Franz Ferdinand goes to the governor's hall where he was supposed to go. He's got his notes were in the other car, so there's actually some blood on them, but he still gives his speech in this hall after this attempted assassination. And then they start debating whether he should continue doing his daily plans as he thought, stay in the hall for protection, or, as his wife suggests, go to the hospital and see the people who were wounded in the attempted assassination. Ultimately, they decide to go see the wounded.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, choose your own adventure, World War I
Right.
style.
Well, spoiler alert, Franz Ferdinand turns to the wrong page on this one. He should have kept his finger at the last choice so he could go back, because he fucks up. So they decide to go to the hospital. They also decide to take back roads in case there's still assassins around. All of that seems logical. So they're going through these back roads, but the driver doesn't really know the back roads. So he takes...
The driver can't see at night.
Yeah.
The driver can't reach the pedals. It's a baby.
He takes a wrong turn and goes down some random street, right? And the guy in the car behind him is like, no, waving to him like, no, this is not the way to the hospital. We have to reverse and go back. The driver stops the car, right, in order to put it into reverse, and the car stalls out. So it's sitting there for a couple of minutes. Now, the place that this wrong road took them, where he stopped and the car stalled out, was next to the deli where Principe had decided to go after the failed assassination attempt.
I just picture him looking up from eating like a meatball sub and just see the car, just like one of the meatballs dropping out onto the table as he looks on.
Starts eating really fast.
Just like
I
getting
can
up
only
and eating as he
imagine,
was.
like, at this moment, Principe was just like, well, that's a gimme. And just steps.
More Arrested Development. Well, that was a freebie.
So he steps forward, he shoots Franz Ferdinand in the jugular, shoots Sophie in the stomach, and the car manages to speed away. After that, apparently at this point, Franz Ferdinand is saying to Sophie, please live for our kids. And when asked about his own wound, he says, it is nothing, 6 or 7 times, followed by a death rattle.
Oh, a man died. Okay.
That is fun, though.
Yeah.
I heard his last words were, "I've been taken out," and that's why they named the song "Take Me Out," the Franz Ferdinand song.
Okay, got that. There
Then he said, "I would like to die in the dark of the matinee," and that was also.
Whoa.
Anyways, they have a song called "In the Dark of the Matinee."
Okay.
I don't know if
Damn, I missed
I
it.
only know the one.
Yeah.
This is like last
Most people
episode where
do.
we went into your knowledge of Jimmy Buffett lyrics. That's like almost inexplicable.
He's a poet.
He's a poet for the common man.
Indeed, yeah. Ferdinand was a real parrot head. Anyways, they find Principe and arrest him as well as the other conspirators. That night, there are huge anti-Serb riots in Bosnia. They were compared to pogroms, actually. A few people are killed. There's violence. There's razing and pillaging of Serbian businesses. And then following that, there's the trial. Some of the, all the assassins are so young, they can't be tried as adults yet, which means their maximum sentence is 20 years. A lot of the adults start claiming that they were pushed into it by threats of violence and terror. But
Peer pressure.
Like by the kids.
yeah. But Illich ends up getting sentenced to death. Principe, who is like super gung-ho about this shit, he's still unrepentant, and he's like, He talks about how he intended to liberate Bosnia, quote, by means of terror while on the stand. He's like still into it. He's still feeling
My
it.
only regret is that I didn't finish my sandwich.
Yeah.
I didn't even pay
And he
that
didn't
check.
even get, if he had gotten a death sentence, he could be like, I know what I'm getting for my last meal. Head over to that deli. But yeah, he gets 20 years. So does the guy who tried to kill himself. So ultimately, surprisingly, these prisons are dirty and unpleasant, and every single one of these assassins gets tuberculosis and dies before the end of World War I from
Oh,
tuberculosis
holy shit.
while in
Okay.
prison. The other people, Apis and Tankovic, who carried out the plot from inside Serbia, they don't get caught until some years later, in 1917, when World War I is wrapping up. They're traded away in order to increase peace talks and are put to the firing squad. In the meantime, under false charges, not even for the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, they just have false charges that they're accused of.
Like, are they executed in Austria-Hungary or?
Yeah, I think they're sent to Austria-Hungary to
Okay.
help with the peace talks.
Okay.
But there's a whole, obviously after this relationships between Serbia and Austria-Hungary deteriorate, there's this July ultimatum that they sent to Serbia that said, like, you need to erase any anti-Austria-Hungary propaganda from anywhere in your country. You need to give up these people. And they comply with a couple of the points, but are mostly like, nah, we're not going to do this. At which point they cut diplomatic ties between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. And a few days later, some military reserve members from Serbia are going down the Danube coming home, and they drift into Austrian-Serbian side of the Danube. And there's sort of a skirmish. Mostly it's people firing warning shots into the air. No one's killed. But it's reported to Emperor Franz Joseph as a little more intense than that, and they declare war. And because of a long series of treaties that are in place at the time, Germany and France fall into line behind Austria-Hungary, Russia goes with Serbia, and things start going to shit.
They start picking sides for dodgeball.
People stop being polite and start getting real.
But the rest of that story, I think we might cover down the line. As to the story of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, that's basically it.
Well, Nathan, I believe you have an alternate version of events.
Yeah. I suppose I do. Well, some of that sounded almost right. But I would say one thing that was left out, the Black Hand, from my sources, was actually put up to this whole thing by another group called the White Hand, because, as we all know, it's the most evil of all is the White Hand.
Of course.
Sure.
The secret white hand.
That's right.
Super secret white hand.
They're so secretive that even the Black Hand didn't know about them. But the White Hand formed the Black Hand, put them up to it. They were patsies. Also, revisionist history says that flag rules. All right. It doesn't look like they shoved a bunch of stuff in after the fact. It's all where it was supposed to be. All right, that knife is
It
perfectly
definitely
placed.
wasn't from the margin of someone's spiral notebook.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a scribble from a bored 15-year-old.
Who didn't want to pay attention in Spanish and thought he was hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah, along with Slayer and fucking Anarchy.
School sucks.
Yeah.
With an X. Yeah, that was a big part of it. And you also missed there were a few other assassination attempts along the way. There was a couple of assassins dug a big hole in the parade route. They dug a deep hole and put leaves and twigs over it.
Okay.
But because they were so amped up, they actually put too much cover over the top, and the car was able to drive right over. So that was another failed attempt. There was a giant. There was a big box that was propped up by a stick.
Okay.
That had some candy and some popular magazines of the time.
Some popular magazines of the time.
Yeah, there was
the name's now lost to history.
Well, I don't know. I don't have all of the information. I think there was whatever Reader's Digest was for Central Europe. There was some of those and some candy, whatever kind of licorice was around in the early 1900s, whatever they called candy, molasses balls, molasses balls, maybe.
Inexplicably, a pile of bird seed with a sign in it that said free.
Yeah. So and that obviously, so
as opposed to the pay bird seed you see everywhere.
Yeah, it wasn't even on sale. Yeah, it was free. So there was that. Yeah, there was that. Obviously, that failed because wind knocked over the box. So the
greatest plans of mice and men.
Right. So yeah, these guys were really prepared. They it wasn't just 6 or 7 guys, with guns and bombs. There was even more. There was even more to it. They tried to, they painted a tunnel on a brick wall.
I was literally about to ask.
Yeah, they tried that old gag, but unfortunately, somehow the limo drove through that painted tunnel, and then when the assassins tried to run through, they hit a brick wall. I don't know. It was even more ridiculous than history reports. They tried to save face by making it slightly less embarrassing.
Sure, the Illuminati covered that one up because it defied the laws of physics and people weren't supposed to know about their secret tunnel magic.
That's right, yeah, there was a wrinkle in time, and it got ironed out by the White Hand. So these, also, I was told, I read, I'm not old enough to have heard firsthand.
I prefer the idea that you were told.
I was told
like you
by
asked
an old
some
man.
people on the street.
I found
just
a
hobo.
I found an old Austrian, an old guy from Austria-Hungary, and he said, "I'm from Austria-Hungary," and I said, "Hi, Austria-Hungary, I'm Dad." And I gave him an old dad joke. He didn't get it, but
translation. It must have been lost in
yeah,
translation.
Sure. You constantly see people around town, homeless folks that's with signs that say stuff like, "Will relate a chapter from the early 1900s history of World War I for food," that sort of thing.
So yeah, a
lot of homeless PhDs, actually.
I also found out that the Archduke got his name from the band. A lot of people don't think that that's possible, but it's true. It was the other way around. That's another wrinkle in time. But the band, the Archduke got his name. He named himself after the band Franz Ferdinand.
His favorite band. He can name all of their songs. Take Me Out.
No, even he can only name Take Me Out.
But he loved it.
Mm-hmm. It was enough, yeah. He was like, I want my name to be that. What's the name of that band?
Anytime he was just walking down the street humming to himself.
Yeah, it gets stuck in your head. Before he was called Franz Ferdinand, he was Archduke Spice Girls. He liked a couple of their songs too.
I feel the Spice Girls really had staying power then, because that was 96.
Mm-hmm.
Or 97.
Yeah. It's really sad. If only he had lived a few more years and he had become Archduke Carly Rae Jepsen, it would have been.
Or just somewhere in between, Archduke Incubus or something like that.
Yeah, if they got a little, a little more edgy,
a little
more
funky.
Alternative, yeah. Start smoking
that
weed.
Hardcore alternative song Drive. Let my fear take the wheel and drive.
They got edgy, but still with a soft side.
And Archduke Parrot Head, of course.
That was Europe. Yeah, I don't know how much more we want to get into it, but I can keep going. I've also, I don't know if I can say that this was true, but some people claim that what was the name of Franz Ferdinand's wife? Isabella?
Sophie.
Her friends called her Isabella. That's why I said that. But it's a fun nickname from college. But some people think, and I don't know whether to believe them or not, that the whole target of the assassination was the gestating fetus inside of Sophie.
Ooh.
Yep, because it wasn't Franz Ferdinand's kid.
Whoa.
Yep.
Oh. It was
I thought maybe like an Omen situation, but no.
A demon child. No, not the case. Even worse, it was an Italian man, an Italian.
Wow. Okay.
An Italian pauper, yeah. So
that took us a minute.
So you think it was embarrassing enough for Franz to marry Sophie. Sophie got impregnated by this like street Giuseppe, you know, this gondola head, you know, this spaghetti balls, and that was not gonna fly.
I like gondola head is such a great gondola head is if Spider-Man came up with a racist term for Italians.
These are old, yeah. You know, these are old racial terms that have been forgotten by history. But gondola head used to start a fight if you called somebody that in Venice.
Walking down the streets of Little Italy, hey, spaghetti balls.
Yeah, you were gonna get in trouble.
What I love about that is there's already meatballs. That's already an Italian thing.
Sure. Yeah, you would think that the balls would be the meatballs,
but the stereotype at the time was, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, that Italians love spaghetti so much that they would just grab it with their fists and ball it up in their hands and shove it into their mouths in great balls instead of, swirling it on the fork like civilized folk.
Right. Yeah, that was the stereotype, was that Italians were so dumb they didn't know how to use silverware, so they just grabbed spaghetti with their hands. That obviously wasn't true, but it was a popular way to make fun of somebody if they were Italian. So yeah, no, it was dramatic. I'll tell you that. The bastard child, the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner type assassination attempts. They were even more ridiculous than time remembers.
Now, I didn't come across the child in my reading, so you'll have to tell me. The assassination obviously killed Sophie and Franz. Did the child live, or did it also die?
The child lived. That child wasn't Mussolini. It wasn't Benito. It wasn't Benito, but it was Freddie Mussolini. It was a distant cousin. And
Fredo Mussolini.
Fredo, yeah.
It was the dumb Mussolini.
He was in the ear of the general of the dictator, and he stirred the pot. He definitely stirred the pot. Stirred the pot of gravy.
I picture him like the Billy Carter of the Mussolini family. Yeah, just
or the Billy Bush.
Slightly off. Yeah. He's always recording everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Never tells you when his mic is hot.
Real gossip head, yeah.
Also contributing to a patriarchal predatory culture. Billy Bush. Everyone. You burnt.
I like how you said it like he was in the room. Billy Bush, everyone.
Billy Bush. Thanks for calling.
He's been on our radio show the whole time. We've just been waiting to talk about sexual assault with him.
Nathan, thank you. Before we get to judgment, real quick, I just want to say, as always, we ask that you rate and review the podcast on iTunes, which is super helpful. iTunes algorithms are weird. They like written reviews, and that gets more people to see it.
Yeah, just write something like, go on there and just write, "Hey, spaghetti balls." That could be your whole review.
Don't be a gondola face. Check this podcast out.
I mentioned listener voting earlier. You can buy your right to vote over on Patreon, along with a bunch of other things like the Jeff Tice designed shirt, which is awesome, and there are a few hanging around. So check that out. And check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can ask us a question or leave us a comment at revisionistpodcast.com. Also, The Revisionists is a proud member of the Denver Podcast Network, a group of Denver podcasts, some of the best Denver podcasts, actually, that are teaming up to support each other and promote and grow and reach new audiences. And it's really great. I want to tell you about one of the shows on the network real quick. That's Beyond the Trope. Every week at Beyond the Trope, Emily, Michelle, Giles, they delve into topics like pop culture, fiction writing, other nerdy things. The show features like laid-back conversations, bad puns, and in-depth interviews with authors, comic creators, and more. You can find all their shows on iTunes, Stitcher, and through beyondthetrope.com. And you can find links to that and all the Denver Podcast Network shows at denverpodcast.net.
Hi, my name is Paul Caroli, and I host a podcast called Changing Denver. It's a monthly show about our city's physical spaces, how we make them, and how they make us. But it's so much more than that. It's the conversations, ideas, and stories that define Denver's perpetual state of flux. Find more from our team at changingdenver.com and join the conversation on Twitter at changingdenver. Denver's changing. We can help.
I'm Clint.
And I'm Jared.
And we're the hosts of the podcast Alcohollywood,
Your source for inebriation.
which you're not listening to right now because this is just a promo for a weekly podcast on all kinds of movies. New, old, good, bad.
Yeah, especially bad.
Plus, we invent a cocktail and a drinking game inspired by each film.
And sometimes we make jokes. Not this time, but sometimes.
Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and check out the whole shebang at alcohollywood.com.
Nathan, you host Power Move at Image Brew Studios first Thursday of every month.
I do, yeah. Me and Aaron Urist. Yeah, next one is September 7th. And we've got Adam Caton Holland headlining, Stephen AJ, Miriam Moreno, Byron Graham, and Allison Rose. So that's going to be a great show. We're raising, and we always take donations for a different cause each month. Mm-hmm. And so that show's cause will be ADAPT, the disabled protesters, activists that took over Cory Gardner's office and offices across the country to try and protest the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. So they're doing great work, obviously.
Yeah. An awesome group. You're also
not Cory Gardner's favorites, but otherwise.
Right, no. Which means, they're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You're also a regular down at Comedy Works, and your Twitter handle is, I'm trying to...
just my name, at Nathan Lund.
At Nathan Lund.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, at Nathan Lund Comedy, and I'm on Facebook. And follow me. And I'm at the Comedy Works tonight, but this won't come out for a little bit, so... Don't worry about that. But I'm at the comedy. I'm at the Comedy Works pretty often. I love performing down there. Mm-hmm. So go down there, check out a show, whether I'm on it or not.
Hell yeah, Zach, you were on a recent episode of Alcohollywood.
That is correct. I discuss on that show the 1990s film Rounders, which you may remember is the one where John Malkovich has the worst Russian accent, and he's give him his money, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. How up until that point, in plugging it, it sounded like you were completely making it up as you went along.
Yeah, revisionist. Rounders. It's about people that are combating flat earthers across the world.
That would be probably a more interesting movie.
Also, I have a quick revision on Zach's plug. He was actually on a podcast called Alcoholocaust, where you talk about your favorite World War II battle and your favorite liqueur.
Right, we create a mixed drink to match every atrocity.
That's right.
From
and then drink till you feel comfortable with yourselves morally.
You'd be surprised how long it takes.
The first thing that I can think of is Manischauschwitz, which is that's tough. It's not really a cocktail, more of a wine that.
Any hoozle. As for me, Nighttime Tonight is a show that happens the third Thursday of every month. So the next one is September 21st. So check that out. And social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. But now it comes the time of judgment, which I said real biblically. And these were both really great stories, well told, of an incredibly just batshit event. I feel like because it was very well researched and I think a lot more entertaining than a lot of the real histories can be, I have to go with Zach for my vote. But listeners, the voting is now open. So have your say. Nathan, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Zach?
Truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, folks. What can I say?
He actually threw up his hands when he said it. That's what got me.
What are you going to do?
It's a living.
I get it.
Zach, thank you as always.
We lost Zach.
Did we lose Zach?
Oh, Hello?
Hey. There we
Hey,
go.
okay.
When did it cut
I just, right before I was going to make my ill-advised Joe Mangle Long Island iced tea joke.
Whoa, we missed it.
Well, now I don't know whether to leave it in or not. So it cut out even before Judgment.
Yes.
Okay, Zach, just to get you up to speed, I'm going with the real history this time.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to edit this together now. But voting is open, said all of that. But for everyone here at The Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And have a good time.